Whether or not a female should be treated completely equal in all aspects of the United States military has been in hot debate for a number of years. Liberal feminists who are pro-equality have stated that women should have the right to fight and not be inhibited from progressing, while Republican feminists have also said that women are also citizens of this country and have an equal obligation to perform, have the capability of performing up to par with men, and are fully aware of their decision to join the United States Armed Forces. However, on the opposition, anti-militarist feminists have said that allowing a woman to fight in hand-to-hand combat may increase her rank, but it will do nothing to contribute to a greater international peace. Through an examination of these views, it will be made known that treating a woman completely equal in all aspects of the United States military, including training and pay, will be beneficial in making progress towards true gender equality and subsequently a better nation. So, beginning with liberal feminists, they constantly voice that female personnel should be able to exercise their right to fight while serving in the military, which is typically 2 to 6 years. This also goes in hand with the view of many Republican feminists who also state that women are equal citizens with an equal obligation to fulfill to the country. Logically, there is no reason for women to be hindered from participating in combat against national enemies if they undergo the same basic training as a male endures. Typically, military personnel undergo hundreds of hours of vigorous basic combat training, or BCT, in effort to first take oath and enter the military at the lowest rank, which is a private. All the participants in the program are away from their family and friends for an extended amount of time and generally experience the same sense of homesickness from the lack of familiarity and safety. Training usually consists of 6 to 13 weeks spent hundreds of miles away from home, enduring intense physical pain, very little sleep, and a great amount of yelling from a drill sergeant. Both men and women must learn to train their minds out of acting like a civilian and giving in whenever they feel tired or exhausted. In this sense, a civilian is defined as a person who is not on active duty with a military, naval, or firefighting organization. Both sexes undergo a mental and physical change under very large amounts of stress, which heightens their focus and changes their overall attitudes and endurance. This is done to the participants of the military so that in the actual hazardous and intense situations of real military combat, they may keep their focus and get what they need to do done. If both sexes must be put in the same high stress and unfamiliar situation merely just to join the military at the lowest rank, then there is no reason for women to be denied the ability to participate in combat because they have fairly earned their place in the military, performing the same duties that their male counterparts have also done. Doing so will only cause division in an organization that is supposed to be whole for the sake of the United States' safety and welfare. There are many instances where a female has proven that she is capable as her male counterpart in the United States military. As of August 2015, there were 2 women, Captain Kristen Griest and First Lieutenant Shay Haver, who graduated from the Army Ranger course. They were 2 out of the 96 graduates of the Special Operations Force in Fort Benning, Georgia. These women were the first ever to complete the United States Army Ranger schooling, which is considered the hardest in all of the training of the United States military. In addition, the Army also released its statistics on their performance compared to the male performance in their graduating class. The data showed that the 2 women graduates were indeed comparable to the male candidates. For the sample, 3 males were chosen from the rest of the graduating class compared to the 2 women, and it showed that the 2 women scored an 83% and a 77% on their peer evaluations, whereas on the other hand, the males scored an average of 71 to 75%. In addition, each of those same men failed 2 to 3 patrols and received 4 major spot reports that were negative. and no positive spot reports. And the women failed 3 patrols and each received more total spot reports, both positive and negative, than the average male that was taken for the sample. As the evidence demonstrates, there is not much difference in the physical capabilities between male and female soldiers, even when placed in one of the most gruesome and extensively stressful situations of the Army. With the hindrance of participation in combat, women are also being inhibited from progressing to a higher rank in the military and subsequently higher pay. On average, the salary of a male and female private who have spent less than 2 years as an active duty soldier is about $18,378 annually. Because information on military pay is made public throughout the nation, there is currently no pay gap between male and female soldiers, but there is a pay gap between the different rankings in the United States military. So a person who is in the corporal rank, who typically receives a squad of about 6 to 8 people to look after, receives $23,994 a year, whereas the rank above this, which is a sergeant, receives about $26,172 a year, and a corporal is the one who reports to the sergeant. Essentially, the sergeant is the corporal's boss. So upon entering combat, the likelihood of a soldier doing something to earn an award and subsequently go up in rank is the chance increases. And if you restrict a woman from entering combat, this subsequently decreases her probability of ever earning an award to go up in rank. And essentially this deprives the woman of about $2,178 if she were to jump from a corporal standpoint to a sergeant position. This money she could be using to make ends meet and support her loved ones back home. Another area of concern in regards to women's military participation is sexual exploitation and abuse. Sexual exploitation is defined by the United Nations as any act of attempted abuse of a position or vulnerability, differential power, or trust or sexual purpose, including but not limited to profiting monetarily, socially, or politically from the sexual exploitation of another. And abuse is defined by the same organization as the actual or threatened physical intrusion of sexual nature, whether by force or under unequal or coercive conditions. In the military, it is said that about 1/4 of women have been sexually assaulted in a period of time of 2 to 6 years, and this data was retrieved through a survey conducted by the Veteran Health Administration channels before many soldiers were being deployed to Afghanistan and Iraq. The statistics on this may seem alarmingly high. However, while a soldier is in boot camp or basic combat training, they receive training on different situations and how to survive each of these situations. This includes, but is not limited to, first aid, water survival skills, marksmanship, and tactics. After the completion of BCT, or basic combat training, like I said, then they have the option of specializing to enter various types of work fields, such as a field medic. When entering the military, every soldier, both man and woman alike, are aware of how crucial and dangerous their duties may become, and not one man or woman enters the military unaware of the possibility of the different types of sexual exploitation and abuse they may experience on a personal level or encounter on duty, thus prohibiting a woman from being treated equally in the military and entering combat because they may be raped is invalid, because males also have the possibility of being raped, and all female soldiers are aware of their own possibility and have made the decision to take that risk for the service of their country. Opposing anti-militarist feminists say that increasing the status of a female militant will not lead to an increased international peace, though it will boost her own status. However, there is an abundance of evidence exhibiting that female leaders can indeed be essential in making peace in both hostile and non-hostile situations alike. In South Korea, the first female president and current president, Ms. Park Geun-hye, was elected in December of 2012 and officially began her president on February 25th of 2013. In her election campaign, she pledged to reestablish a sense of trust between North and South Korea and, quote, to improve economic democracy and social welfare, unquote. This is exactly what she has been doing. So since North Korea's third nuclear test on February 12, 2013, that made the UN place more sanctions on North Korea, Ms. Park has gradually been able to reestablish trust with North Korea, and they have both started planning to reunite the families who were separated by the division between North and South. And North and South Korea have also remained at a standpoint and have not had any major altercations within the recent years. The two countries have been steadily moving forward with the cooperation that North Korea grudgingly gives, showing that a female leader can be very beneficial in possible life and death situations, especially when the woman in charge has a vast amount of experience and exposure to the mechanics of government. Mrs. Park's father was the previous president of North Korea, and with a failed assassination attempt that actually ended up killing her mother, Park was given the duties that her mother used to carry out as First Lady of South Korea. In addition, there is a Kurdish all-female militia currently risking their lives daily to combat the crimes committed by the jihadist group ISIS, which stands for Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. The members of ISIS have a fear of being killed by women because they believe this will hinder them from being able to get to heaven. So this belief and the chaos in their home country have driven the women to take matters into their own hands, and through their courage and perseverance, these women have been able to claim about 160 villages and the city of Kobane, but not without losses. According to Ashrafi, the photographer who lived with these women in Syria, there were funerals about every 2 days for the fallen female warriors. This militia has proven a great point that women are indeed capable enough for combat and in making a difference in an occupation that is predominantly male. Thus, claiming that a woman will not promote more international peace is not a valid statement, because there have been many instances in both the past and present where women were a significant factor in the promotion of peace between opposing sides and nations. Anti-militarist feminists and those with similar views have also claimed that a woman will have a hard time in the military or any job regardless of their status. They imply that because the military is such a masculinist institution, or one that is dominated by men and by cultural attitudes traditionally inculcated into men, if a female rises in ranking, she will still be treated in the same fashion as she did when she first entered the military at the lowest ranking. However, if changes in gender inequality are being actively made now, eventually gender inequality will be smothered out completely from the military. The process of women having to undergo to be allowed to serve in the military is an important reminder of the possibility of smothering out unwanted inequalities. So initially, women were only able to serve in the army as nurses in hospitals on U.S. soil only, and women would often attempt to dress as men so that they could enter combat or try another type of military job. Then during the Korean War, from 1950 to 1953, women were finally allowed to serve abroad. However, they were still serving as nurses and nowhere near combat zones. It was not until 1976 that the first female participants were admitted into service academies to begin training for military science. And then finally, over 41,000 women were officially deployed to the Persian Gulf for the war in 1991. to serve in a combat zone, but not necessarily to participate in actual firearms combat. Though it's a slow and painful process for both men and women, there is virtually no legal discrimination based on sex and employment now. Nowadays, the concept of someone not being able to join the military or be prohibited from completing any job for that matter based on sex is an absurd practice and punishable by law under the United States Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, or the EOC, which also protects those who are transgender or of other sexual orientations or race. In addition, if women indeed generally have a harder time in the military or workforce, then they should all the more be given recognition because they endured what men have not, thus continuing to prove that women are tough and very capable, even more so than one may perceive. The United States of America is known throughout the world for its many great and seemingly impossible accomplishments and feats, especially in its young age. This is a modern day and age, and this country should be continuously progressing and not regressing. The rest of the world has already embraced female involvement in all aspects of government and society, whereas the United States is trailing behind at an agonizing pace. By allowing equal female participation in all aspects of the United States military, there is a mutual benefit not only for the military itself, but also for the nation as well. Women have in their possession aspects that men may not be able to bring to the table, and to continue in being a successful and major first world power, the United States must first introspect itself and work out its own kinks in order to become the most efficient and united military and country it can possibly be. Thank you.